Hello everyone, welcome to season 2 of series on digital transformation. This is our episode 2. In the first episode, we talked about business transformation, digital transformation, their differences and similarities, and 4 drivers for digital transformation. In this episode, we would talk about, at first, how to prioritize digital transformation use cases. We've understood that an organization has to go into a digital transformation of their processes. But there would be a number of these scenarios or processes that would be vying for attention. How can they go ahead and pick up which ones to be done first, second, so on and so forth. So for this, like in so many other areas, we also have a 2x2 matrix, which would help us prioritize these use cases. The x-axis is about complexity of the use case. Y-axis is about value to business. Between them, they make 4 different quadrants. So the first quadrant that we need to pick up are those must-dos. Which are those? They are high on value to business and low on complexity. And hence, they need to be done for sure at the start. We can also call them low-hanging fruits because they have low risk and high rewards. Which all kind of use cases these can be? It could be a robotic process automation use case, RPA as we say. It could be a chatbot and so on and so forth. When we talk about chatbot, one of the better chatbots that I've seen is on the TechWaith website. So that is something of a low-hanging fruit that a lot of organizations getting into digital transformation should think about, and a must-do, I would say. The next that we should be looking at are those use cases which are high on value but high on complexity as well. Now, for such use cases, how do you choose has to be carefully examined and done because these are complex use cases. However, benefit on the higher side. The third kind of use cases are those which are low on complexity and low on value to business as well. So low risk, low reward. These are those kind of use cases which I would say should be deprioritized at the start. They can be done at a later date when we do not have any other use case which are high on value left over for us. However, the first 2 kinds are to be done immediately. This is something which can be taken up at a later date, not a must do at the start. The last quadrant is something that we need to avoid. Any use case which is very complex and it doesn't give us a lot of value, stay away from it, period. Don't even have to think about it. Throw it in the trash can, forget it. So this is a simple matrix that would help you to prioritize which of these quadrants that your use case falls in and when do you need to take it forward. I hope it is easy to understand and to implement as well. Now let's look at the next part of it. We have understood digital transformation, drivers, prioritization of the use cases. But how can an existing organization which is already doing its business, which is already serving the customer, can reinvent themselves? So there are a couple of thoughts which I can share on this. The first one is that an organization in an existing business can start generating revenues from new products or new services. So this effectively would be a separate business or separate line of service. I am doing a business in an existing industry or an area of process. I have to think how digitally I can start offering something which adds on to my revenue by leveraging what I already have. Let's understand with an example which makes it easy to decipher this. If I take an example of Disney Plus, the OTT offering, and OTT is something that a lot of us consume these days, it might become simpler for us to understand. So we know about in India that Disney Plus has come as an offering along with Hotstar, which was an existing app. Now, the history of Disney Plus as an app goes few years in the past as well. We know about Walt Disney as a production house which has been there since ages. They started thinking about a subscription-based model for all the production that they had in terms of huge archives, and thought to offer them on an app or an OTT platform. They started thinking about it in late 2015. They had a test streaming of the service as well. Then it took them few years to think through and plan their strategy. Finally, in November 2019, Disney CEO then Bob Iger announced that they would come up with a service named as Disney Plus. The formal launch came in a year later, in the year November 2019. Before that, they tried out a couple of months of trial runs from September 2019 onwards. Why did they have to wait? Because they already had a distribution agreement with Netflix, the biggest OTT platform provider across the globe, Netflix, which is now its competitor as well. Once the distribution agreement ended, then Disney was free to launch their own service as well. When they launched, approximately 10 million customers onboarded their services within few days of the launch. And if I look at it in terms of numbers, by the month of May 2020, launch in November 2019, within approximately 6 months, they had around 54 million customers. And if we get into almost a year later, in the month of April 2021, they had more than 100 million customers. A huge jump from where they started off within 1.5 years. How they could do it? They already had their 7,000 television episodes and 500 plus films in the archive, which they could utilize into a new revenue stream. So they reinvented and started getting money from a different offering, a different service. We know these days some of these magazines or newspapers also, they provide their online subscription option. So that's a new revenue stream for them as well. Let's talk about the second strategy. Organization can reinvent their business model itself using digital technology. The first idea was to augment their revenues. Here we are talking about completely changing their business model using digital technologies. So one example here I can cite about is Netflix. We all know that Netflix started as a DVD rental organization. They completely changed their business model in tunes with what was happening in the ecosystem and became an OTT provider. So that is something where we can say that they pivoted into a completely different business model using digital at the core. So that is something on the only digital world, if I put it that way. Let's look at it where it is a combination. So a combination is provided by some organization where they have both a physical as well as a digital footprint. So the example about a French multinational, Sephora, they are into beauty products, and like all others, they had only their retail stores, but they started using digital technologies after the market research that they did. So what they do is use AR and VR, augmented reality and virtual reality, and their customers can look at different shades of beauty products by uploading their picture and figuring out what looks good on them. And after that, they can either buy it online, or the app would let them figure out which is the nearest store from which they can buy this. They have set up their own in-house digital lab for taking care of these newer technology offering to be embedded into their business model. They've even gone ahead with Google Analytics 360 suite to figure out analytics based on their customer behavior and using it in their day-to-day business model as well. A very interesting use case, isn't it? That's all for episode 2. In the next episode, we would talk about an interesting use case of digital transformation in an FMCG conglomerate. I hope you're liking this series. Do like, share, subscribe. If you have any question, put down in the comments below and I'll be happy to answer it for you. Thank you for now.